it's a chance for us to tell your story, to say who you are, what you do, whilst keeping company to others that might be at home working, that feel lonely because of the self-quarantine. But anyway, Niklas, would you mind introducing yourself, telling to people who you are and what you do, and
Yeah.
let's get this party started.
Okay, hi. My name is Niklas Keller. I founded the studio Individuals in 2012 during my studies, and after 2013, when I finished, I got into it full time. At the first 3 years, I was freelancing a lot for my colleagues in the shared office I was working with, and then I decided, okay, something needs to change. On the one hand, do I want to go to a bigger company? Do I want to be an employee, or do I want to do my thing on my own? And as I always wanted to have my own thing, like my own company, when I was 12, I was like, I wanted to have a property real estate company. I wanted to have an architectural studio. I wanted to have a gambling casino. I don't know. I did have a
You
lot of
wanted to build an
ideas.
empire.
Yeah, well, mostly. So I said, why not go for it? I'm young. What I have got to lose? Nothing, actually. So I went into it, and the first, I'd say 3 to 4 months, when I said I won't do any more freelance work for my colleagues, were pretty hard, I'd say. So it was like, okay, I don't know if there are coming jobs or what I have got to do the next month. So I was more or less reaching out cold calls, like emailing or asking some people and so on. So I was more or less, yeah, not that busy at all. But then, yeah, some clients came in. I was referred to others.
How did the first clients come in? Because this is a question that a lot of people like to ask. How did you find your first clients? And even more specific, how did you find your first good clients, those that did not want to pay you $50 a rendering, but they wanted to treat you as
60
a
bucks.
but they wanted to treat you as a human being, a professional human being?
Actually, it was through colleagues in my studio. Like in the bachelor, I was. They get older and they come in a situation where they can
Make decisions.
say, okay, yeah, where they can make a decision and say, okay, I know somebody who's doing it. And that was my first client, was a real estate developer, and it's still a client after 7 years, yeah. And the others came through and through from time to time. So then they know somebody who was also looking for a 3D artist who was nice to work with, and they say, oh, I know this guy, give him a call. So from that on, it all improved and growed. So
Okay.
that was basically it.
That's very cool. And let me ask you, did you actively keep in contact with these guys throughout the years, or did you just forget about it and then somebody contact you because they remembered you? How did that go?
No, actually, I do write them from time to time. Like, I know when one of the clients has his birthday, so I give him an email or a shout out, like happy birthday, or just keeping up right at the moment. I wrote to a client that we all have this situation. Maybe I can help you with something. Like they are canceling their visiting the building sites, so their clients can't go there and look at the houses. So I said, okay, there's the possibility to do 360-degree panoramic tours. If you want, I'm in. So that's the possibility to move it to the online part.
That's very clever.
Yeah, and yeah, well, most of the time I'm keeping in contact with them. Of course, there are always times where you can't reach them because you're too busy or you're on holiday or something else. Or most of the clients come, I'd say, every 2 months.
Okay.
So some clients are contacting me about 3 times a month, but
What I'm trying to do here is making a point as of how important it is to build and keep relationships with clients, with people, and not only like business relationships, but also human relationships. At the end of the day, as bad as some clients might be, they're still people.
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you a little bit about how your work evolved over the years. Do you think that there was an inflection in the way you started to produce work and then more clients started to come? How important was it for you to improve your skills in order to attract better clients?
I think over the years, one of the things that really improved was my workflow. I was working a lot faster. I'd say I'm double the speed of my beginning, even 3 times as fast. The clients also notice it when I say, okay, this project takes, 4 weeks in the beginning, and now it takes 2 weeks. They are pretty happy. So in the time I can produce more. So also the volume of the project got up. There, I think one of the first things or a mind breaker, if you can say, was the first project who got a 5-figure budget. So it was like, okay, first time I'm writing something bigger than, 9,999 euros. That changed a lot because then I lost the fear of writing bigger or greater, bigger offers. So
actually, that's a very good point that you just mentioned. Did you have to change your mindset about your own value as a person in order to overcome this thing? What was your thought process when you went from saying, okay, I'm doing very little budget projects, now I'm doing big budget projects. Am I worth it? Am I, suffering of imposter syndrome? I don't deserve that. Tell me a little bit what was going on in your head.
Well, we as artists tend to negotiate with ourselves. It's like we are writing an offer and then we think, okay, no, that's a bit too much. I lowered a bit, 500 euros less. So, okay, all right. And then as you send it out to the client, they say, oh, it's a bit too much. So can you lower it by, a few bucks? Okay, 500, less. And then you lose 500 from yourself and from the client. So you're losing 1,000 euros or so. So that was the point where I was thinking, no, the client, of course, they want to make a good deal. I want to make a good deal. So I try to keep a balance. And most of my clients don't really negotiate the price. Yeah. And
it's a good thing that it's a good thing that you're saying this. As long as you do good work, there is honesty in asking the money that you're worth. And sometimes people, they suffer a little bit from being true and good to themselves, and they say, I think what I'm charging is too much. And I think personally this is due to the fact that we love what we do. And so we definitely love seeing what we're doing being used by the clients. And so we don't feel good when we have to ask for money because we love it so much that we will probably even give it for free. And so, this is when you have to draw the boundaries to say, okay, am I an artist doing things for free or am I actually running a business? Because then when you run a business, you need to say, I need to get paid. Because then times like Corona come, and
if I'm honest, I'm pretty happy that the last month have been pretty busy and that there's some money coming in, and I won't fear as much as I would at the beginning. So I don't know, 4 years ago, one of this crisis, I'd say, would be very, very hard. Yeah. And I wouldn't be sure if I had to go to the restaurant and they are closed now, but or go to the grocery stores and help them filling the
Shelves, yeah.
the shelves. Yeah. So right at the moment, I'm pretty comfortable because of this decisions in the past that I have to get some sort of income and get some money back. So hold it back and say, okay, I save it for
A rainy day.
a rainy day. It's actually raining outside.
Also here in Israel. I'm very proud of you because I've seen you growing professionally since the very first times that we started to follow each other and we started to talk. We met at the D2 conference. And
3 years ago.
3 years ago. And, it might sound like a very short time, but I've seen a real improvement. And, people talk from time to time. And I know that you're doing very good things. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because very often I tend to discourage people from going freelance because on your own it's a lot more difficult. But there are some people that can do it better than others. It's not everybody that can do it on their own. You're doing it, but you're also collaborating with other people sometimes, right?
From time to time, yes. So I'm also looking into collaborating with some others because of too much work. I was actually thinking about getting an employee in the beginning of this year, but then this crisis started, so I was just like, okay, good that I'm only on my own, so I only should care or only have to care about myself, not another family. At the point when I get an employee and I wanted to pay him full, so not like a freelance employee.
Yeah, like so somebody with a fixed job, so to say.
Fixed job, 30 hours a week. I don't know. So, at the moment.
Do you manage yourself to work within the working hours, or do you have to push yourself to do a lot of overtime?
It changed. We moved half a year ago, and I got my office in my home. So right at the moment, it's like, okay, I can check the rendering in the evening. maybe I should do something and give it a boost. Or I think I work a lot more now than in the past, but I'm also having a lot more of projects. So it's getting hand in hand, like. But I need to force myself to work, to don't work too much. So weekend is free.
Always.
And always. And most of the time I quit working in the evening at 6.
Okay.
And start in the morning at 8:30.
Okay. It's that's a great thing. I was having this conversation also with my wife, which now she's working from home. And she was like, when I go to the office, I commute 1 hour back and forth. But now, because I'm at home and I have my phone and my computer, I'm working 12 hours a day. And it's
difficult.
It is, because it's difficult to set boundaries, right? And to say,
yes.
Are you still working on setting boundaries? Like, would you like to be able to say, because, I've set this policy that after 7 I do no social media anymore. But it's difficult. I get messages from people in Australia. I get messages from people in Canada.
Yeah, I'm telling my clients, so before 8:30 I won't be available through phone. I'm in flight modus. And after 6 o'clock in the evening I won't answer the calls, except the fact if they are having a deadline, it's the day after, and it's tight, and I don't know, there's something to do. But most of the time I say, okay, I only work from 9 to 6. I'm available 8:30, but I start working on 9, and I try to work only until 12 on Fridays.
Okay.
So sometimes that's okay, but in the last few months it was a bit tempting to be out of office at 12.
Yeah.
Not realistic.
Let me ask you, in retrospective, what do you think were some of the things that you did correctly that helped you in times like this, now that there is this crisis due to this coronavirus? What are some of the things that you might want to recommend other people that maybe are a little bit struggling with finding work, with finding clients, so that, then I have another question, which is, I'll ask you later. For now, answer this.
All right, step by step.
Yes.
All right. The first thing I'd say is be patient. Try to stick to it, and the money aspect is an aspect when you're starting out, and now this happens. Some people will struggle a lot. The others who will struggle are the people who get $100 for an image because they won't have much left now. But I think the most important things you can do in being free or working freelance is being patient, being responsible for everything, being honest, being a nice guy to work with or girl. I think that's the most important part, to be nice to deal with, I'd say, and deliver on time, always. And yeah, I think these.
Let me ask you the other question. Do you think that the freelance life is for everybody, or do you think that we should do a self-check, and just because there is the possibility to go freelance, that you have to take it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think everybody is made for freelance or being the best business owner or studio manager or so. I think everybody has its own capabilities. Yeah.
It's all right. I always the other day I got interviewed by an Italian show, and I was like, listen, some words are going to come out of my mouth that make no sense, even though I'm Italian.
Scusi.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but everyone is different, so you should think if this is the right job for you and if you're made for it or not. Maybe that sounds a bit harsh, but it shouldn't. But I think you should be old enough to think about what can you do, and what are your plans, where you want to be, think forward. You give me the tip to think 10 years to the future.
That's a very good tip. You should always
definitely
be thinking of who are you going to be 10 years from now?
So I see a lot of people who are in freelance work but don't really like being freelance. They're a bit more or less forced into it. And I don't know, for these people, I think it would be better to be an employee. Mm-hmm. They can work in the same field if they want to, so that's no problem. But yeah.
One of the issues that I think we have nowadays is that there is some sort of negative connotation to be an employee. Because it's
I don't know where that comes from.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I don't know where this comes from. But I think, as I do love my job, I really love it. I can be building my own worlds. It's like doing Lego on the computer and getting paid.
Yeah.
Always tell people. But I'm also very keen on the business side. I'm very into numbers. I calculate my taxes before my accountant does it. So in advance, so I know how much there's left. And so I think you have to, if you want to be a freelancer or if you want to have a studio and you work on your own, you need to be interested in many things. So that's, of course, the art, but it's also mostly more important is the fact that you have to be into business. You have to read books about business strategies. You have to watch videos. You have to train yourself to be a better boss for yourself, if you could say.
Let's give a couple of hints to those who might be listening from home. Which kind of resources do you use in order to learn this kind of stuff? And please don't say my videos.
I don't know your videos.
Okay, good. Otherwise it sounds like self-promotion. But what are some of the content creators or authors that you would recommend people to listen to?
I'd say one of the first who came to my trending line start page on YouTube was Christo with Future. That was one of the main resources where I got a lot of, he trains the people to know what they are worth. That's pretty good. And as you click through the videos, you get recommended a few others. So there are some other people, Blair Ents, I think he's called, yeah. And of course, some of the architectural visualization studios who post some videos on their work, and you get some kind of a clue what it's all about and what it needs to run a business. So
now, let me ask you another question. Some people might say that the stuff that Chris Do or Blair Ents talk about, they might not apply to our industry, or that maybe they are too far offset from the reality of the market that we live in. Do you agree with that sentiment, or do you think differently?
I think, well, there isn't really a limit for if you say it on the money side, there won't be a limit to what you can earn. Somewhere on the planet there's maybe that client who pays you 1 million a year. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure there might be one. I don't know him, but yes. So yeah, maybe it's not. I think the people in the industry aren't ready for that kind of mindset. I think it's mostly like we aren't worth it, so that doesn't speak to us. I think it needs some kind of changing in the mindset of the people. I'm not sure if Christo and Co, they are, I don't know, billing in for a lot of, if you're working on your own, that won't be the case. So he has a company behind it. So
it's a little bit,
I don't know how many people there are.
That's one of the things that people should understand, is that, you know, sometimes we talk about big numbers and some of the freelancers get frustrated because they say, nobody will pay me that kind of money. But there is one point that needs to be made, is that clients, they buy trust, they buy the fact that when they go home in the night, they can sleep because they know that your work is going to solve the problem that they have. And so sometimes you cannot expect to be paid the same money that maybe you might get paid if you don't have the background of relationships or the a proof track of like business projects that you might have done. And so, you know, they say, okay, what do I do then? Do I have to start and charge very little money in order to build that? And in my case, I'm like, that's a little bit of a dangerous route, because then you set your bar very low. And at that point, I'm like, I'd rather have you guys go and work as a freelancer like you did for other studios and learn from those guys, rather than have to deal with clients directly. And I think that this was also what you have done, right?
Yeah, the first 3 years I was working mostly for my colleagues. I was like billing hourly, and I learned a lot. I learned really a lot. I learned a lot about how to deal with problems, how to manage scenes, how to get materials pretty nice, and so on. It was like a learning curve. And I think after a few years you reach a point where you need to decide where you want to go if you're working freelance. And that's, I think, the moment when you need
And so
to decide.
you need to make a decision.
You need to make a decision because you're getting a lot more frustrated. As you're getting better, you also earning less because you're getting faster and you're shooting yourself into your legs because of it. It's like billing hourly isn't very motivating when you're getting better and faster.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell the clients it took me 20 hours when it took me 5, but I don't know. I'm an honest person, so I can't do it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
the
true.
one who said, okay, it only took me 5 hours. But one thing I wanted to say to the future, Christo and Co, they are only, I think one of the things they promote is that they are always billing high and having the great projects, but we all know they all have the bread and butter jobs. Like they also have the jobs which bring in, I don't know, 10,000. But they have the projects who bring in, I don't know, 500,000. But they are only talking about the 500,000 projects. I'm also having projects where I get, I don't know, 1,000 euros. So that's not the case that I have only projects which are like 5 figures or something. It's most of the time it's, I think, more or less you think you know the companies. When I look on my page or on others, like I don't know, Dbox and Co, there are a lot of nice projects, big projects on the boundary. You see these high glossy, very very good renderings, but you don't see the projects that come in that are not published on the website, which are just working under the radar of many people. So there's a lot of work which isn't published on the creme de la creme websites or on Instagram and Co. I think the people get a lot of wrong view on the companies.
You're right. I think
except
that,
my own.
No, but you're right. I think that this is one of the issues when talking about social media, and that's because every time that we share things about our lives, they're always very well curated. And so sometimes we forget to include also the bad and the ugly, right? We just include the good. Try and use your brain when you perceive information. Don't think that we're just emphasizing the positive because everything is positive. Try to understand that we're talking about a positive side of things. And eventually, if you train your mind to emphasize more the positive side of things, you will start to look at also the negatives with a more positive eye.
Yeah.
And this is needed to the survival of our race, because if you look at what is happening now with Corona, you can only be negative about this, but there is no worth in looking at this with negativity, you know. And I say this because I want the people from home not to use the time to get depressed and think, oh my God, everything it's bad. Use the time to train yourself. Use the time to meditate a little bit, to read some books, watch some educational videos. We're going to go back to full production mode, hopefully very soon. You need to be ready for that.
Yes, definitely. And also in every crisis, there's some kind of chance. So afterwards, I think many of the people will go on holidays after this because they didn't take their holidays before. So I think I don't know how long it takes. So maybe in half a year, 1 year, I don't know. All the people will run into the hotels and will run to the restaurants and will run, I don't know, to the car dealer and buy the new car they can now drive. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason, but there are also a lot of people who will struggle a lot from it, I think. And I don't know if what's the right way to go, but I try to keep try to keep some businesses alive by ordering things. Like I know they will struggle. Maybe it takes a lot longer now, but I should put some money there to try to get them surviving.
Yeah, not to be too afraid to keep the money in your pocket, and then there is.
Yeah, I'm pretty conservative according to spending money, but
all Germans are.
Not all. But
that was a very bad statement. Bad, Fabio.
No, but I think you need to keep it running in some ways, and someone has to pay the first bill.
Yeah.
If no one does it, no one would get paid, so the chain will break.
Yeah, you're totally right. You know, it's funny to talk about this stuff right now, whilst a couple of weeks ago we were just making fun of the situation, right? Because we were like, it's just a flu.
We were all we didn't know what was coming actually, but how should you?
Yeah, I know.
It was far away. It was only, I don't know, 50 people, and you were like,
Dude, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Anytime.
I'm honored to have the chance to help you telling your story. You're a very talented artist. I'm going to put the links to your work in the description, so if people want to reach out to you, they can do it through the links in the description. Thanks a lot for taking the time.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna stop the recording so that I can say goodbye to you one more time, okay?
Yes.
Take it easy, dude.
You too.
Bye.